Bridgerton meets The Cruel Prince meets The Selection meets Red Queen. Where is the common sense? Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Raya, this is Raya Reads. Today we're going to be doing the end of year book tag. Thank you to Jamie Falk for exposing me to this tag. It's currently December 18th, but we still have 2 weeks of reading left in the year, so even though I'm doing this tag now, this is not going to encapsulate everything I'm reading for this year. Also this year, I am definitely leaning more into like adult versus young adult, which is why I'm trying to read a lot of young adult at the end to just like bring that percentage up. But overall, I think my favorites this year have been like adult literary stuff. So that's where my reading is at this year. Let's move on to the first question, which is the most disappointing book you've read this year. The most disappointing book I read this year is Heartsick by Christina Forrest. Before this, Christina Forrest was my favorite YA rom-com author, but Heartsick was just really disappointing for me. They just broke up, and in this world they have this thing where you can take a pill and that can like take away your feelings for somebody. So Margot works at this place, she sees Isaac go into this place, she's like, oh my god. They ended up on this journey together because they catch like the CEO of this drug doing some shady stuff, so they're on the run. I really like their relationship, and I had a mostly fine time in this book, except for the fact like the pill, like that's so interesting and we just never really do anything with that. One of my favorite movies is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and I love the concept of like forgetting somebody or like taking away your feelings for somebody, but this book just fumbled the concept completely and like we did absolutely nothing with it. So I just don't understand why we had to go this complex for a plot if we're not gonna like actually go there. I feel like this would have worked better as an adult rom-com. Next question is, what is an underdog book? I'm gonna say a book that comes out next year. I also got the arc of it. That's The River She Became by Emily Varga, and Emily Varga is right now my favorite romantic author. She does all the YA tropes so well, and like I love YA, right? You can see that. The River She Became is honestly a mix between An Ember in the Ashes and The River She Knows, and we have Yasima, who is a rebel and who's trying to get this artifact type thing, like archaeology type thing, and she finds her way into like the fairy world, and she has to like help this king that's corrupt. And on the other side we have our male lead, Kian, and he's like an old prince, but he's like working for the king and he's trying to overthrow her from the inside. It's great. I love these characters so much. I love the plot. I think the people in this are like people of color coded, at least, so I love the kind of representation, especially like in a fairy realm. But this book just does everything a lot of these fairy books do, and in my opinion, it does it well here, and it does it well while also addressing colonialism and imperialism and all of the things that are my favorites to tackle. I'm gonna be so mad if this book doesn't get the hype it deserves next year. Most overhyped book, The Frozen River. I've basically only heard about this book because of Goodreads Choice Awards, and then when I've tried to check it out in my library, I'm like 200th in line. And apparently this is a really popular book, even though I'm not really in the historical adult circle that much. I read it and I just found it boring, even though it's like about like a real person and her midwife duties, and there's like a murder mystery in the background. I just thought it was so long, like the pacing was not it. I just didn't understand why this was like the book. A book that surprised you. Holly Jackson's debut adult novel this year, which I also got an arc of. I haven't liked Holly Jackson's previous standalones, so this one is going to be make or break it if I was going to keep reading Holly Jackson, and I really enjoyed it. I really was invested in the character and her journey, and I loved the like actual mystery behind it because it had a lot of family drama, and then the ending surprised me. Next question is my favorite book couple of the year. I think I'm gonna give this to Ivy and Emmett from The Rose Bargain. I actually have this book right now because I finished it last night and I love it. The Rose Bargain I describe as Bridgerton meets The Cruel Prince meets The Selection meets Red Queen. The Rose Bargain follows our main girl who is gonna debut in society, and this year actually she's gonna be put in this competition to see who is gonna be the new Fae Prince's wife. And so there's a lot of trials, and you know, what if she like also kind of likes the Fae Prince's human brother who was plotting against the crown. They're in a love triangle. He's the older brother, he's like a playboy, they're like scheming, the tension is great, there's a one bed trope, there's like a forbidden trope, like everything. Like, I just love their attention, I love their story. I think my favorite main character of the year goes to Bird in the Sea. This is a book that comes out next year. I got the arc of it, and we follow Abubka, and she is currently a princess. Something goes wrong, and she has to like defend her kingdom, and she's just so like strong and determined and like willing to find her way out of these loopholes and stuff. And it was such a stressful scenario, but I feel like she fought against everything really well, and I just want the best for her. And luckily there's a sequel coming out, so we get more of her. I love Abubka. My favorite secondary characters of the year also honestly probably go to the Rose Bargain. I like our main character, I like her love interest, and then I think also like the other girls who are competing in this competition are also like interesting, and they also have good backstories, and I hope we get more of them in the next book. New favorite author you discovered this year has to be Emily Varga. First read For She's Wrath in January, and I loved it. This is a Pakistani fantasy retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo, and we follow a girl as she was like wrongly imprisoned for something, and now she vows to get revenge on the man who betrayed her, who is also her ex-lover. It's this romantic book, but also about vengeance and what it takes from you. And it's a good old classic YA fantasy. Next year she's coming out with a new book, and I got the arc of it, and it was amazing. I loved it. It reminds me of like Akatar the Cruel Prince, but like it happens to have like people of color, so it discusses like colonialism and stuff. Which is my dream. What is the happiest book you read this year? The happiest book for me this year is Fake Skating by Lynn Painter, and this book came out this year. I got the arc of it, and it's one of my most anticipated reads. And Danny and Alec are so cute, and this is best friends, childhood besties, the lovers, and we follow Danny, who is moving back to like her mom's hometown, and her family friend Alec lives there, and they used to be besties, but something has happened between them. There's a rift, and they end up, you know, running into each other at school, and they ended up having a fake date, and they're besties, and they're in love, and it's great, and I love the family drama. The first reading book I read this year, The Scammer by Tiffany Jackson. I recently read this book, and I gave it 3 stars. I read it in one sitting, so it is like a really good thriller, and this book is an experience. All of her books are. And I liked most of the book, but then there's like this twist at the end that is so rushed and not explained at all, and it just undermines the whole book. A Scammer, we follow our main girl. She's like in college for the first time, and she's like really excited to meet all these people and have these experiences, and her roommate's brother is gonna like stay with them for a little bit, and this guy is like really an extremist, and he keeps like trying to manipulate these girls. And this book about, you know, they're basically getting turned into a cult, and it was just like kind of frustrating to to read about these people like not question anything. Like, these are college students. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you're just gonna listen to him and do what he says? Like, where is the common sense? It focuses more about shock value than the actual substance of like whatever's happening. And I wanted to dive more into like the methods of persuasion and why specifically this guy was targeting college students. I feel like we could have really done a lot more with this book. The longest book I read this year is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and we follow Matilda, who is an immortal goddess, and she falls in love with a human boy and gets involved with like his war, and gets involved with this godly war, a lot of politics. This book was my second most anticipated read of the year. Unfortunately, it did disappoint me because I didn't really get invested in the characters or the romance. It's not a bad book, and I really like the writing. The shortest book I read this year is probably The River Has Roots, and I really enjoyed this. This is like almost like a short story novella about these 2 sisters, and it was very fairy tale-esque, and the magic involved like grammar, and I thought that was so cool, and I need more from this. My favorite covers of the year. Favorite for the End of the World. Like, I love the colors, I love the vibe, I love the gorgeous girls. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. And it's probably my favorite of the year, which is The Dream Hotel. Our main girl is like this middle-aged mom, and she gets detained at the airport because using AI, they think that she is going to kill her husband. So she gets put in this like prison that they're not allowed to call a prison, and it's a commentary on the prison incarceration system, but it's also commentary on like the use of AI and the kind of like unquestioning reliance we have. I think the cringiest books I read this year are John Green's fiction books, and I gave An Abundance of Catherine 2.5, and I gave Will Grayson 1.5, and these books are very much of its time, but I don't necessarily mean that as a dig, except for the fact that these characters are just so pretentious and so hard to take seriously, especially now, like years later. An unpopular book that you loved. I'm gonna assume unpopular as in like people don't necessarily love this book, not that it's like an underdog book, but I'm gonna shout out also The Rose Bargain. Anytime I've seen people talk about this book, it's like 3.5, and I loved it. It is exactly what you think it's gonna be and more. Lowest rated and highest rated on Goodreads. I currently don't have like most of my books logged in Goodreads, so I'm not gonna check now. The next question is favorite book quotes of the year. The Namesake, which follows this Bengali couple who moves to the US in like the late 80s, 90s, I don't know. Sometime then they raise a child, and it's about the diaspora the child feels about being Indian in American society. And yet these events have formed Gogol, shaped him, determined who he is. There were things for which it was impossible to prepare, but which one spent a lifetime looking back at, trying to accept, interpret, comprehend. Things that should have never happened, that seemed out of place and wrong. Those were what prevailed, what endured in the end. Chills. Book with the most unique concept you read this year. The book you read this year that you would reread. All of my favorites get like put in this list where I basically reread them on a cycle. But in terms of like comforting reread, which is the main reason why I reread books, like I read People in Vacation 4 times. Forever She Became is gonna be on repeat for me. And that's gonna be it for my end of year book tag. I tag, who should I tag? I tag literally Maddie, because she needs to get back on booktube and we need to do that together as a society. That's all I have for my answers. Please let me know what your reading is looking like at this time of year. My reading has been great, as you can tell. I can't wait to do more of this. Look out for more videos, including my November, December wrap up, and my favorite books of the year, worst books of the year type things. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys so much.